Hey guys, another episode for Rich Soil Podcast. I call her Bella, but her full name is Isabella. Is it DeChard?
DeChard, yes.
Sure. It's beautiful. Thank you for coming on
Yeah.
today. She is in the East Coast, so I know it's a little bit later for you out there, and I appreciate your time. Today is just going to be a little bit about women in cannabis. Obviously, it's 420 weeks, so I'm sure you're hearing and seeing all types of events going on. Tell us a little bit about, actually, before we jump into what's going on right now as far as 420 week, you as a woman in cannabis and in the industry, do you have a morning routine that is leaning towards wellness or anything in like the fitness way?
Oh, yeah. Um, yeah, I have my routines and it does kind of look a little bit different maybe throughout the month. So in the morning, I'll wake up. I always put on a good song that'll like lift me up depending on how I'm feeling that day to get me started. Sometimes I have that ritual of making coffee with my espresso machine. I have a very specific way I like to pour my coffee, brew it,
Do you
foam up the
grind your
milk,
own coffee
and
bean?
then I do sometimes when I have the
Very
time in the morning,
right. Right.
when
Yep.
I don't have to be anywhere too soon. But that's ideal. That's the ideal part of the routine. And
Okay.
then as I'm sipping that coffee, I'll roll a nice joint for a little wake and bake
I find it very
action.
meditative type of style. Sounds like you have music on, so you probably are moving your body and getting some movement in that, which always a
Yeah.
great release. I love good music in the morning, but because I have a little one or two little ones, that has changed for me as I've gotten older. So it's more like having the like sounds of birds in the morning or some sort of like Zen shit on YouTube. That's usually what's playing, and I'm like walking around like there's eggshells. You'll get there when if you ever become a
Right.
mom. That's my
Yeah.
vision. But it used to
I
be
can
like that.
imagine.
Afternoons when I'm cooking, we have music and we're dancing around. And I'm probably rolling a joint somewhere on the corner or packing a bowl. Okay, awesome. I really do love that. And the only reason I ask is because I myself am huge about wellness and trying to really be bridge the gap between wellness and cannabis being separated because I believe that cannabis should be part of that, being its plant medicine. And so, me
Mhm.
being a fitness enthusiast, I've used it all my life. So now I'm curious to ask everybody that's coming on, like, what does your morning routine look like? Some people like to work out, like smoke and dab, or consume their flower and then go on a run, and that's just something that I want to start highlighting, that a lot of us are very
Right.
active and really trying to harness like a healthy lifestyle all the way around, even though we're heavy, smokers. So I love that you have
Right.
a morning routine and that you're like it sounds like you probably set your intentions as you roll your
Yeah.
train and figure out what your day's
I
like.
do a little, I'll do a little like smoke and stretch, a
Oh,
little
yes.
yoga, just slowly moving my body into warming up my body, the brain in the morning.
Yes, I love that. Giving your body and like mind the just that love of like, okay, we're here, it's a new day and let's do this. Let's get our shit done.
Mhm.
I love that. So I'm excited to have you on because a couple things. I met you through Brian through Wax Snacks, and I think we're both
Yeah.
on their influencer um program. I don't know what to call
Campaign.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been fun.
They're growing, and it's really excited because he is really good about networking or bringing people together that come from different networks. And so your background was really interesting to me, and it caught my eye, being that I love growing. Being a woman that grows cannabis is a little different here in SoCal. It's not as normal as it would be in NorCal. So obviously indoor is the jam that I get to work with, but um
Mhm.
I had asked you who you would consider as a mentor, and I loved who you listed. And
Yes.
there's like on so many different levels, I'm gonna drop the name soon, but I'll let you say who you decided to choose as who you consider a mentor. And I love that she is very like empowering in her very natural, blissful, graceful way. Everything about her and her journey and the relationship that she has with her other half, it's so admirable. And when we go to Harvest Ball or the Judges Retreat and we get to see the two together, it is just really inspiring as a mother, as a woman who's also married, and our partner is very supportive of us being women in the cannabis space and using our
Mhm.
voice. And so, go ahead if you don't mind telling us why you chose Nikki Las. You can say her last name.
Lustretto, yes.
Oh,
Nikki Lustretto from Swami Select.
many
That
thanks.
was a hard question, but she immediately came to my mind first, and I'll tell you why. Not only one of the many women in cannabis I met throughout this time I spent in California, but just seeing her, I got to live with her in Swami, help out on the farm, and truly see the day-to-day work that goes into not just owning a small farm, but creating a brand and then surviving in the California market today. So she works nonstop. And not only that, but she has such a passion and fire behind what she's doing. And I look up to her in so many ways, but I would see her walk into a room that most oftentimes it's a bunch of men smoking, which there's nothing wrong with that. But for her to walk in and have such power and
Respect.
strength, and yes, yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
respected it so much. But and I know you see this too, working with her in the Emerald Cup and everything, but such a very calming, strong presence. And I think that is so important. And to see that um, as a woman in this industry and as a legacy grower herself, I admire it so much.
Can you kind of dive into, and they curated this program, right? To my understanding, the Certified Ganjier program, which is how you ended up staying on their property. Is that the story behind that?
Right. Yeah, it's a crazy,
That's
super serendipitous. And truly it happened all around this time last year because it was right before 420.
wow.
But the Ganjier certification program is under Green Flower, and it is a super extensive like cannabis sommelier training program. And her and Swami and a group of Humboldt and Mendocino, mostly farmers, industry workers, came together and they built this curriculum and they built this program of they call the SAP, the Systemic Assessment Protocol, and it's essentially how to assess and rate flower. And because of their experience with the Emerald Cup, it was very greatly similar in the judging styles and how you would assess that flower. So I was in the program, which is predominantly online up until there's a live training portion that you can sign up for. And you go out to Humboldt and you take a tour of a farm and you meet the council of mentors that have been teaching you online for it's about 20 to 35 hours. Um, and so I was also at the time looking for an opportunity to get out of Florida, which is where I'm currently am, which is my hometown. And I was looking for my next adventure. I love to put myself in places and just kind of learn and see what happens. And so I had seen a listing online for them to have volunteers come and help out with their farm, not necessarily the cannabis aspect of it for legality purposes. But I saw Swami and I said, I know who that is. I said, he's teaching me how to grow cannabis in my Ganjier certification program. So I reached out to them and I said, I'm in the program. I'm actually coming up in May and I would really love, to meet you guys, get connected. And they said, well, we need someone to help this season if you're interested. And I said, yes, I had no ties. So I packed up all my stuff and I moved to a weed farm for 6 months.
wow.
And it was the best time of my life.
Wow. And prior to that, I should have asked this earlier. How long had you been, like, when did you start consuming cannabis? Like, what drove
Mm-hmm.
you to wanting to sign up for that. Kind of like tell me your background. Like it looks like you've
Right. Yeah.
obviously had interest in that program, so you probably were consuming, I imagine. But yeah, tell me a
Right.
bit about how cannabis or weed got into your life at first, and then what led you to that. Because I give it up to you. I mean, I always tell people that closed mouths don't get fed, and so the fact that you reached out, they
Right.
said yes, and had a bigger like opportunity. It was just bigger than what you expected to get back. And it was to live on a farm for 6 months. Not
Mhm.
everybody gets that opportunity. That's dope as hell. So yes, tell me how long weed has been part of your life and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, I was well, my very, very first experience was super typical. I'm 16 in the parking lot of like an AMC theater, and I'm just like got past this uh joint or a blunt, which was probably even crazier for me because the taste of the blunt wrap, everything for the first time. And I just remember like
And
I
it's a
went to go see a
crossfade.
scary movie. Yeah, I was definitely I felt something, but I had the ultimate munchies. I'm sitting in that scary movie just like laughing my ass off. Can't feel my legs. But so that was my first experience. But back then I wasn't thinking like, why do I feel this way?
Right.
Or what just happened with my body? And so it really truly wasn't until college. I went to the University of Central Florida for acting and theater, and I started incorporating cannabis a lot in my wind down at the end of the day, at the end of a long rehearsal, at the end of a very, very stressful theater evaluation, and all the high stresses that came with performing that I love, maybe don't miss as much, but it really became like my like healthy escape or just a way for me to just kind of quiet like my mind at the end of the day. And that's when I started thinking like why does this make me feel good? And it's alleviating like the stress I have. I enjoyed it more than alcohol. So that's really where my relationship began to be more curious with it, I'd say, and become more like, okay, I can become like a responsible consumer. Because I used to be like hard on myself, like, oh my gosh, I'm smoking weed every day. But like, I turned it into, I smoke weed
Right.
every day and
Right.
I'm proud of it. And it addresses, like the anxieties or, I would go through waves of depression. So I really started to learn how it helped me. But it truly wasn't until then the pandemic I needed to find a job. I started ghostwriting for Homegrown Cannabis, the seed company online.
Yep.
And they were like, all right, here's some terms you need to include for SEO and write about how to grow weed at home, which
That's
I
what
didn't know
Kyle
how to
posted,
do.
right? Yeah.
So I'm researching. Yeah, I'm just kind of like, okay, took the job researching how to write, or I'm sorry, how to grow. And from there just learned so much about like the life cycle of the plant and the different methods and realizing like there's so much to this. I learned about how the flower was female, which was something that like blew my mind at first. And
Oh yeah.
so
Oh,
from there it became I'm learning. I started creating graphics. I started this art brand called Bitchy Hippie, and I started freelancing for cannabis brands, doing social media, email marketing, graphic design, copywriting, every little thing in between. And every gig I was picking up, I was learning more about the industry, the plant, the community, and the history of where it all came from. And so, um, with that, I wanted to further my education in a way and know that what I was learning was coming from like a trusted, reliable source. And so I saw the Ganjier program and I felt that that was the exact opportunity I was looking for.
so
And
that,
so
how old are you now? You don't mind me
I'm
asking?
26. It's
26.
okay.
Okay. And you
Yeah.
took the program.
So I took it, I was 24.
Wow. It's been around that long, huh?
Yeah, because I turned 25 out there last
Yeah.
year.
Yep.
And I was freelancing for the cannabis industry about a year and a half,
Wow.
going into 2 years at that point.
You're right.
Yeah,
Because fuck, we're already in 2020,
I
2023,
know.
and COVID was 2020. Wow. Yeah. Time
I
flies.
still think it's 2020 sometimes.
Yeah. They took a, they
It
took
feels
over
like
the break.
it.
Yeah. for sure. Like rewind it.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, so back to it led you to the program. How did you find the program? Was it on like social media? Someone tell you about it?
I believe it was on LinkedIn. And
Okay.
so I was doing a lot of work through LinkedIn as well. I was working for a company and I still do called Geomat, and they're more on the cultivation technology side. But they were it's a company. They create a system that captures and recycles all wastewater. So they were very successful in the car wash industry. And then when the pandemic was happening, they shifted gears into cannabis. So any cultivation facility that's washing technology or grow tables, any like flip they have, especially for indoor,
Yeah.
um, all
Interesting.
that water can be collected and recycled and reused for sanitation. So I was helping them market that mostly over LinkedIn, and that's where I saw the Ganjier program.
Wow, look at you. You're all over the
Yeah.
place. So that's a perfect way for us to transition into Bitchy Hippie. I love the name, by the way. And I think I will let you tell us how you got Bitchy Hippie because to me, you've been just, you seem so sweet. But
Yeah.
I think I get probably where I get it because I think we were probably in the same boat. But yes, tell me how Bitchy Hippie came about. And I imagine with your theater background and all of that, that's where all your creativeness comes from. And obviously, Photoshop and creative graphics and art is everything that you're doing within all of Bitchy Hippie. So, yeah, tell me where Bitchy Hippie came from and what Bitchy Hippie is, and kind of like what would you say that like if we were needing of if it has a service, is it more hospitality? What is it there for?
Yeah, it's a good question. Because it started, I was ghostwriting, I was bored in the pandemic, and I taught myself Photoshop, and I was creating like digital collages and graphics. And I just realized I was learning so much from writing about cannabis, and I wanted to translate it in a way that was more easily digestible for people to learn something instead of it just, you know how we scroll, especially during the pandemic. I was scrolling on your feed and there's so many different infographics on how to be a better person or whatever. And it's like,
Right.
let's talk about, so I wanted to advocate for the plant and bring it um, on social media in a colorful and different way. And so I kind of just I taught myself Photoshop. I got creative with that. But the name came from this girl in high school. I was the theater nerd, as you can imagine, the little artsy girl with like the multicolored Converse or whatever. And this
Okay. Did you
girl
write
was
on
like,
them? Did you write on your
yep.
Converse? Uh-huh.
Oh, I
Okay. Got
colored
it.
all the
So did I.
time. There was, yeah, I love Converse. And yeah, then there was the high school girl, so the cheerleader, and she threw away a water bottle one day, but she didn't recycle it. She put it in the trash can. And I said, "You
Cheerleader,
should
right?
recycle that." Yeah, the cheerleader. And no knock on the cheerleaders, but I wasn't one. I was on the bleachers.
I
Taylor
was
Swift
one
reference.
either, girl.
And so she threw away the water bottle, and I said, "You should recycle that." And she said, "Oh, what are you, a bitchy hippie?" And, I thought it was like one of the nicer insults I got.
Right. Yes, I like that one.
So I was like, oh, so it stuck with me. And then when I wanted to create this account and make this brand, I still didn't know at the time what exactly I wanted to do with it. I just knew like the motive at the time was to just like spread education, spread awareness. And I thought about the time when I was trying to tell someone to recycle. And so I chose that name. And since then, it's become a brand. I freelance with other cannabis brands to create graphics, whether it's for social media or their marketing assets. Um, I do any type of like content creation, but really it's just a platform I'm using to translate what I learn and the experiences I have and just have it be something that can be seen in a fun and creative way. Moving forward, I am in the works. It's a really hard time in the industry right now, and I know we all know that. but I'm hopefully in the works of creating products that will promote these smaller farmers and brands that in local areas that I think need to be seen.
Very nice. That's
So
very exciting. And
yeah,
it's more
so we'll
exciting
see.
because I know you'll be very aware of what should be out on the market when you're highlighting the traditional roots of cannabis industry because we're seeing a lot of different shit in the cannabis industry. And so products are looking all types of ways. Being a judge for the Emerald Cup and me being on pre rolls, we get to see all types of different things that get put out on the market. And
Hmm.
so, um, some of the things that are out there are like artificial terpenes. Obviously, we have some new hot shit coming out, like
Yeah.
a lot of hash holes are coming out. More women are interested in dabbing and being more familiar with different versions of concentrates. And so to me, I think with your background, I think if you start having some sort of line of products, that's going to be really exciting to see where you go with that. Because I believe your education and advocacy has taken you far enough to know what a solid product is out there. And for our tradition and roots of our community, I think a lot of that comes with quality over quantity. And we're looking
Hmm.
for quality cannabis, quality people that care where this is coming from. And so I'm excited to see where you grow from here. Um,
Thank you.
your network of people that you collaborate with as far as men and women, do you find yourself, a lot of people talk in the industry that it's a male dominated industry. I always feel every industry is male dominated. um
Hmm.
and as a woman, I think we have an advantage, especially for those who have taken the time to know how to grow cannabis and talk about cultivation and not just like be an influencer that is just putting out regular content or reels of smoking and just showing that lifestyle.
Yeah.
You can go a little bit more in depth. I think that sets a little bit of a seat for you at the table when you're talking to other people in the cannabis industry. A lot of times if I'm going to C-suite industry, they don't know shit about growing. They rarely consume. And so those are things where I think women who are embedded in the traditions of the cannabis industry have an up. Do you have a thought on that? What are you leaning on being, you said you're 26, you're out in Florida. What does it look like out there in Florida? I mean, as far as SoCal, obviously, it's nonstop from San Diego to
Yeah.
LA. So I get to experience both traditional type of events where it's just a bunch of us who do smoke heavily and it could be 20 women and we're, dabbing, pre-rolls are being lit up, blunts at the same time. And we're still able to have these type of conversations. No one's getting like mad couch locked all the way to
Hmm.
like C-suite where it's open bar and you can have a drink or two, but you can't smoke there. So is that something you're
Hmm.
experiencing yourself?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm in an interesting state, for sure. So, the perspective I have, there's a lot of medical dispensaries, but we're talking like bigger brands coming in. But even so, I do feel like it feels more male dominated. But I don't think it's just my state, is what I'm trying to say. I think there are events that I've attended, especially in the last 2 years, um, that are cannabis conventions or just industry events in general, where you see that divide and difference. And I think it's not necessarily something I see right now in Florida because we can't openly like have a 420 event on Thursday, really. But the demographic here, I do feel like is male dominated in the way that they are marketing these medical brands now. Like it's all uh like bigger, can I say it?
You can say it.
Like Jungle Boys, Cookies, all
Okay.
these brands that like are huge, but I feel like it's just kind of targeting like one specific type of consumer.
Mm.
Where when I feel like if I go out to an event in California, you have more options, obviously, and
Right.
you have more of a community there.
Mhm.
But with that being said, that's from a consumer standpoint.
That's fair.
As someone working in the industry now for going on like 2.5, 3-ish years, it's which is not a lot, but there's a lot of men.
Yeah.
And um I feel it's hard to be taken seriously sometimes. And I want to talk about the terpenes. I want to talk about these things, and I'm 5'2", and I feel like sometimes I'm just seen as like just the little girl who smokes a J and
Mm.
can roll a damn good one at it. But so it's a struggle I feel because it's such an interesting industry to be a part of too, right? Because it's like we're all consumers and we're all obviously like have our own passion and drive for why we're doing it. It's not it's quite different than like any type of other industry, but with because of that, I feel like there is an extra edge and competition to it in a way where it doesn't need to be like that. Like there's room for everyone, and there's different types of consumers and stoners and people that smoke weed, and I just want that to be seen a little bit more, I think, than as definitely the way Florida's presenting it, but we'll
Well,
see. I'm on my way out. I'm really looking forward to going to checking out the Colorado market in California this summer. So,
oh, that'll be fun. I hear
yeah.
Colorado's it's some people are hot and cold about it. Same thing with
Yeah, I've heard the
California,
same.
which is interesting because Colorado was one of the first to, really get it out there. But I think it's fair.
Yeah.
All those were fair points, and I've experienced that myself. I come with background in banking, and it's the same in that industry. And
Mhm.
the younger you are, or that you appear, I should say, because a lot of times people think I'm
Yeah.
in my 20s and I don't have kids and a whole mortgage and all this other shit.
Mhm.
Um, that it takes some, just you just have to pivot. And to me, it's all about energy. If you don't want to give me that level of respect, one as a woman in the industry, and my profession is should be coming second. Respect comes first. And then, if you don't want to waste your time on people like that, I think we have every right to just move on and not do business with them. And that's what's the great part about this being an entrepreneur like yourself. You're a go-getter. You have very strong morals and boundaries, it sounds like, as to what you want to do and how you want to be seen. And I respect that. I really admire that in you as far as a woman in this space and being so young. I don't know if I was that strong on my goals as far as being knowing exactly what I want and experiencing everything you've experienced since you've been in college, living on a farm, and then now, um, self teaching yourself. Not everybody wants to do that. And so during the COVID time, it looks like you took a lot of time to enhance what you can give back to the community. And I think that's what's huge is I do these podcasts so that I can interview people like yourself and people can find out about Bitchy Hippie and know the services you bring to our community. And on top of that, our community is growing. And I want people to have the opportunity to know who they are behind the brands because it's going to come down to trust when it comes to doing business now. It's growing
Mhm.
really fast. And I think our community is huge on trust. And so I appreciate you sharing everything that you have shared with us. Tell us where we can find you personally and then how we can support Bitchy Hippie.
Yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn, Isabella DeChard. My Instagram, Isabella.DeChard. And my Bitchy Hippie Instagram is Bitchy Hippie without the I in bitch. Don't tell Instagram. And yeah, IsabellaDeChard.com as well has my services, a few blogs about my experience last summer, and there will definitely be some adventures ahead this summer, so stay tuned there.
Awesome.
And any copywriting or freelance graphics, I'm always happy to work on as well through IsabellaDeChard.com. And I'm writing for Fat Nugs magazine, the best cannabis culture magazine you're gonna find these days. I'm so proud to be a part of this team. And I will say it's mostly women and a fantabulous Dustin Hawksworth who started it all. So
I
I
know.
love that group.
I had to have this pop out real quick because
Yeah.
you guys, oh, I am like in love with these. I recently went to my hair salon and I was like, hey, just kind of breaking it in. And she's like, yeah, bring them on down.
Good.
And so I'm going to be dropping off some of these at the
Yeah.
salon. And I told Dustin that and Melanie, shout out to Fat Nugs magazine team. You guys are the best. You
Yeah.
guys are killing it. The vibe on here is so classy and artistic. I have some on my table and I have to tell my kids to constantly stop touching it. But like I can't wait till a guest sees it and picks it up because it's just not like your traditional. I don't know. You guys just do a kick-ass job with, is it like a AI that you guys are like
Yes.
harnessing? Yeah, like
Yeah.
you guys got to see.
I love, yeah, we've been incorporating many different mediums of art, but AI art, especially like I love the whole women in weed segment. Your page looked great. It
Yes.
just created a whole different like fantasy world of where you guys came from and what you do in the industry. So I'm glad you're a part of that.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. It was a blessing to be in there. There was so many different women in there that you guys highlighted, and it was a blessing to be
Hmm.
next to them. So I appreciate
Yeah.
everything that you're doing. I appreciate your time. I know it's late as hell over there in
Okay.
Florida. Thank you again. I appreciate you. We hope to have you back.
I'm always happy to. And thank you for having me on tonight.
Of course, of
Thank
course.
you.
Thank you, Isabella. This is another episode for Rich Soil Podcast with another dope ass woman in the industry. Stay tuned for more. Thank you so much for tuning in.